Welcome to the Working Tools Podcast, where today is episode 3 of our interview with Chelsea Hansen, Curator of the Washington Masonic Library and Museum.
Ladies and gentlemen, brethren all, welcome to the Working Tools Podcast, a casual conversation around Freemasonry. First, it's important to note that our thoughts and opinions are our own and do not reflect those of our Grand Lodge or respective craft or concordant bodies. Please connect with us and ask questions via our website at theworkingtoolspodcast.com.
Today on the Working Tools Podcast, we have 3/4 of our usual gang. We have very worshipful brother David Colbeth of King Solomon Lodge number 60 in Auburn. I'm Matt Appel. I'm a member of Mill Creek 243. We meet in Montlake Terrace, Washington. And we have very worshipful brother Stephen Chung, a member of Prince Charles number 153 in Kelowna, BC. And we are very glad to have with us again for what may be a shorter than usual episode, but I'm sure somehow we can drag it out. Part of our interview with Chelsea Hansen, who's the curator of the Washington Masonic Library and Museum. Chelsea, thanks for being on the show yet again.
Thanks for having me yet again.
So at the very end of the last episode, I mentioned a mysterious brick from the White House. And Stephen was going to ask you some questions when we weren't recording, and I had to stop him so that we could get it on tape. So, Chelsea, what's up with that brick from the White House?
Oh my gosh. Well, it all goes back to when the White House was being built 100, 200 years ago. When the White House was being built, there were foundation stones, and the operative masons of the time would, when they made a stone, would carve their operative mason's mark into it, to show that they were the actual person that built that stone. And so fast forward all the way to 1950, the White House is in very bad shape. And President Harry Truman decides that, we have to just renovate we have to tear it down basically to the studs and redo everything because it's literally falling down. So he does that. Harry Truman is a Mason, though. So when he's going through and looking at the construction, he recognizes these stones and knows exactly what they are. And he decides to keep one for every jurisdiction that was existing at that time. And he wrote a letter that's framed, I believed, with wood that was from the White House as well. And there was a plaque on the letter that said, on the frame of the letter that said, White House material removed 1950. They also placed this plaque on each brick that they were to give to each jurisdiction. And so a representative from Washington, D.C., Grand Lodge went to every single jurisdiction in existence at that time and presented it to the Grand Lodge, usually at annual communication. So ours came to us in 1953. So we were presented with a White House brick and the framed letter at that time, and it's in our minutes, the annual communication proceedings. And after that, we don't know what happened to the brick. So fast forward to about 10 years ago, the framed letter was actually found in a lodge. And I'm not going to say which lodge because I'm not pointing fingers at anybody, but it was found in a lodge, and a brother who was cleaning out a space was like, "What is this?" and contacted our grand secretary to ask, "Do you know what this is?" And the knowledge of the Truman Stone in our jurisdiction had kind of been lost at that time. So our grand secretary was like, "I don't know what this is," and started asking around and doing research and realizing, oh my gosh, this is a stone from the White House that we don't know where it is. So he did a lot of work asking around. There's no knowledge that he could gather about where it went after 1953. And when I was hired 2 years ago, I quickly learned about this brick and I'd been asking around to other curators. And, a lot of other jurisdictions, had photos of it. But we've gotten like leads over the years and we trace down the leads whenever we get them, and none of them have ever come to fruition. And I've gone through my own records. I don't have any photos of it or any record that it even came to the library and museum. We just don't know where ours is. And one thing that I do whenever I go to a new lodge, usually during district meetings, I talk about it and try to, gather leads, because it's such an important part of our history. And it's something that, we should have in our library and museum so we can share with Masons from around the state and be able to talk about that history. It's just a big missing piece of our museum. So if anybody listening to this knows about something like this, please let us know.
Our ones of listeners will be on the on the lookout. But so you said is it like a stone or like a brick, or do you know?
It's a stone. Talking to other jurisdictions, it can be slightly different shape, but roughly 7 inches by 7 inches. And it has a very noticeable operative Mason's mark on it. And it has a plaque that says removed from the White House 1950 on it. So it could fit in a box. It could be in a lodge somewhere, just, sitting there waiting to be found. I've talked to other jurisdictions. Oh, Matt has it in his office. I've talked to other jurisdictions, and one jurisdiction actually that happened to them. They opened a box one day and was like, "Oh, what's this?" So I have hope. I really just hope that it's in a lodge somewhere and we're going to find it. But the more people that know about it, I think the better.
I guess it could theoretically be in some of those boxes that you haven't seen in yet, or do you think that's unlikely?
Well, no, I've surface level gone through every single box and opened them, so I would have found it if we had it. And since the letter was in a lodge, I don't think the stone ever made it to us.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And the stone obviously wasn't in or with nearby the letter at all. It's interesting that
that lodge has been searched twice, and I actually went a couple weeks ago and searched it again and went exactly where they said it was, but I wasn't able to get to every single box and open it up. So it could still be in there, but I don't think it is. And the brother from that lodge had no idea that they had it. I don't think anybody intentionally is hiding from that lodge. I just don't know where it is. I don't blame that lodge at all. But
I mean, after an annual communication, I can verify things are a mess, and some things might have got thrown out. But I am sure that if it had made it back to the museum, it definitely would have been archived.
I do have a really funny story, and I can mention the lodge because they're cleared. They're cleared of it. But we got a tip like 2 months ago that there was a White House brick in the fireplace hearth of John Paul Jones Lodge. And it had the same plaque on it. Immediately I'm freaking out and looking at pictures and trying to see, and I find a picture of the fireplace, and yes, there's a brick that looks different than the rest of the stones in that fireplace. So me and the Grand Secretary, Clint, we drive up like the next hour to go look at it. And it is a White House brick, but it's red and it's smaller than it should be, and there's no operative Mason's mark. It has the same exact plaque that says removed from the White House 1950. But looking online and doing research, there were many, many other red bricks with those plaques that were sold as souvenirs. So I can pretty positively say that is not our brick, and then John Paul Jones did not take the brick and put it in their fireplace, which I thought might have happened for about 2 hours there. And I was Googling how to get a stone out of the fireplace without it getting damaged. But it was really funny to like, we almost had it there, but it's not our stone. It is a White House stone, but not ours.
So you mentioned something offhandedly a few times now, and I guess my question is, how unique is it to have an organization like yours associated with the Grand Lodge? Because does every Grand Lodge pretty much have a library and museum? Are you one of two, or is it how common is that?
It's pretty common. I would say there's at least a volunteer in each organization that works on, preserving a library and museum in some form for the jurisdiction. I would say our setup is pretty unique, um, not just for Masonic library and museums, but for any museum, because we're part of an organization that is a bigger nonprofit that does other nonprofit things. And usually, at least in other jurisdictions for Masonic museums, it's directly under the Grand Lodge. But for museums generally, they're generally like just a museum. They're not one part of a bigger organization that does nonprofit stuff or things. Um, and the way I explain the difference is it really makes me think about everything that we do being a service to the community. Um, which is, every museum is essentially a service, but you might not have that at the forefront of your brain like I do when I'm talking with my coworkers who are doing things like providing services for seniors and scholarships for youth. They're providing services and I'm providing services as well. And so that just is a continual reminder for me, but it is unusual, the setup that we have.
Interesting. So so I've been to whatever. I guess my question is, is there a conference? Is there a club of Masonic curators? Is there do you guys get together once a year and compare notes? Or I know there's big operations, right? Because there's whatever the House of the Temple and there's the building in Philadelphia or that sort of thing. But do you guys all get together and talk or?
Yes, I'm so glad to get to talk about this too. Yeah, when I first started, I was like, I don't know, like I don't like, is there anybody out there doing what I do? And I just like was researching online and I found out the Masonic Library and Museum Association, which has been around for a long time, and it's made up of uh, museum curators, librarians, and just, Masons who are passionate about preserving their history and from all over the state. And even there's a couple in Europe that are a part of it as well. And every year we meet up in a different jurisdiction and learn about how the history of masonry is preserved in that area. So, um, 2 weeks ago now, I was in New Jersey, because New Jersey was hosting it this year. And
I'm
I
from
got
New
to
Jersey.
see the Grand Lodge of New Jersey Museum and Library, and I also got to go to the Masonic Temple in Philadelphia, which I mean, amazing. If anyone's been able to go there, it's baffling how beautiful that building is. But the Masonic Library and Museum Association has been so helpful to me because we like have we're able to email back and forth and solve problems together and kind of think about, how we band together to preserve Masonic heritage. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I've been lucky enough to go to the building in Philadelphia. Like I said, I'm from New Jersey and my wife's from Pennsylvania, so we got to when we were out there visiting family one time we went, and it is truly amazing that's a great facility they have there. Um, so you're the only operation like this in the state though, right? I mean, I guess well every lodge on some level. My lodge has stuff that we've accumulated over the years. So I guess on some level we all have a collection of some sort. But you're the only I guess what am I trying to say official operation in the state, or are there others that you know of
Well,
in Washington?
I don't want to say I'm the only, I don't want to get anybody angry.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
But there's like there's people who are preserving their histories in their lodges, and people who are really passionate about that. And I think there's a few bigger bigger operations in the east side. And one thing I really try to tell people is like, you know, part of what the Masonic Library Museum is trying to do is help lodges preserve their history through questions or just support. They can always reach out to me, and I can help them problem solve how to, you know, take care of something that they have that they want to take better care of maybe than they already do. I'm always a resource for them.
And you've been to, I've seen you at a lot of different lodge buildings throughout the state. Is there well, I guess you said, you know, you already answered this question, but if someone has a question or has something cool that they want to preserve, you're willing to be contacted and have someone ask that question?
I would be thrilled to be contacted. Yes.
All right. And I guess two, what are some of the more common mistakes you see in these settings? What are some things I should know to avoid?
Yeah, well, I mentioned this a little bit in an earlier episode, but one of the biggest things that people should really look out for is light. So for certain artifacts like paper or photographs, they fade so easily if you have light on them. So if you can, don't have it out in a display case all year. Put it out for special occasions, or swap it out every couple of months, because the more it's exposed to light, the more you lose it, the quicker you lose it, and you can't get that history back. So like for charters or books, or photos, yeah, just keep it in the dark.
So that just to ask my dumb question. So this you're including like whatever. Oh well, but we went to the frame shop and we got the special whatever UV glass put in.
I mean,
Is that enough or?
that helps, but it's still, I mean, you're still going to get light on it. So the best thing you can do for it is put it in a secure location that is not exposed to light 24/7. That's what I would suggest. I mean, another thing is just making sure you have an inventory of what you have, and then you have it in a secure location that not everybody in the building is going to have access to. I mean, that's an important thing too, because, you know, things can get lost easily, or, you know, things like that. So
So
those
so
are two big
putting
things.
putting something behind into a picture frame behind the glass isn't really going to give it any protection from the lights that'll deteriorate it.
So if it has UV filtering, that does help. But if light's on it all the time, it's still gonna damage it. So like, for example, have you ever gone and seen like the Declaration of Independence on display? Well, if you look on pictures online, you can see that the ink is so faded. And the reason for that is because it was on display so long. If, I mean, other documents from the same period that were stored away, the ink is so much darker. So just things like that, keeping that in mind. If you can, not have light shining on your paper all the time, that's great.
And I will say too, don't have it rolled up in a brass tube.
That too, yeah, that
Ours
that too.
ours was in a brass tube for probably 60 or 70 years or 80 years. And we finally did just spend about $1,000 and had it framed museum quality and all that with the glass and all that. And we store it away in a dark area and only display it during meetings, but still, yeah, there was some unfortunate deterioration to it, but it's nice to have it, to be able to see it and display it now rather than, and to, you know, to have it in its rightful place too, an honorable place, not just rolled up in a tube. But every time in any lodge I go to, especially those that are been around, the numbers are in the double digits, and they yank the charter out of the tube, and two guys with meat hooks grab it and open it up and say, "Oh, let's see who's on here." And I think, "Oh, that's going to fall apart one day." Yeah, because I mean, as I understand it, right, all the 58 and below numbers, if it's original charter, it was their Washington Territory Lodge. So it wasn't the state of Washington. So they're very unique charters.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so there were 4 founding lodges in Washington, and 3 of them still exist. So yeah, that would be.
But I
I'd
mean,
love to see their charters.
but 58 of the lodges, right, from lodge 1 through 58 were all territorial lodges.
Oh,
Washington
yes,
territory,
right.
right, because
Yeah.
they were formed. So we jokingly say that we're the second lodge in the state of Washington, King Solomon number 60, because Verity Lodge 59 was the first one. So Verity Lodge, King Solomon, Cascade Lodge, and one or two others were all given their charters in 1960, official 50, 59, 50, whatever that, the year after Washington became a state, the June after they became a state. So we're officially the second. Yeah. Yes, 18. Sorry, not 16, 19. Yeah. Very cool. Very cool.
So speaking of anniversaries and the Declaration of Independence, I can imagine that you would anticipate, I would hope, I'd like to think that there would be an increased interest in what you do around the 250th anniversary of the Declaration. Is that something that's on your radar? Is it something you're planning for? Or?
So there's a initiative going around in Washington. It's called Washington 250, and it's trying to, a lot of museums from around the state joined it, and it's just kind of a hub of resources for how you can incorporate the anniversary into their own programming. It's a little tricky for us because we won't be open yet, but I'm still trying to figure out how we can still. I mean, I joined the initiative, and I'm still trying to think about how we can be a part of it in a way when we're not officially open to the public.
I'm excited to see if there is a difference or if there's an increase in interest around that time. But I guess Washington Masonic Charities traces its history back about 100 years. Is that right?
Yeah, so they trace it back to 1920. We trace it back to 1927, which is when the first resident entered our first Masonic home, which was in Puyallup. That's when we kind of trace our history. So it's great because we're going to be opening on our anniversary, 100-year anniversary. We'll be opening the museum in 2027. So we're trying to develop programming around our own anniversary and incorporating that.
Yeah, I clicked on the wrong thing and everything went away there for a second. David, did you have
I just kind of like you, I had the name of the Good Samaritan. So at the old Masonic home, if for those that are in the south end of Seattle in Puyallup area that know, Good Samaritan Hospital in Puyallup is the site of the old Masonic home. It was there until not too long ago. I don't remember the date now. I did read the plaque, and I don't remember. It was just recently there, and it was there on the site, preserved for a long time, and then it was a hospital. It was actually used as a hospital after that, and then when they expanded the hospital, then they incorporated that space. But it was, if anybody wants to know, that's where it was. It was kind of up on the hill, a little bit of the hill, overlooking we all call the Puyallup State Fair, but at Western Washington State Fairgrounds. And they do have a plaque and all that stuff there for it. So it's kind of cool.
That's awesome.
Well, thank you again. It's been great having you. I really, really appreciate it. And Matt, if you got another question, I'm just excited. It's been great having you.
I'm glad.
No, I've exhausted my list of questions that I had prepared here. So,
I have one more.
Uh-oh.
I think we should invite her back, and she could make a list of things that she'd like to talk about, artifacts or stories or whatever, to share more of the history that's available. I think it's fascinating, and I think we're just so grateful that you've made the time to come and share what you have with us, and I believe that you have so much more to share. I'm sure we could focus on a particular direction and share the knowledge. I think it's great.
I would love to come back. That was great. It was so much fun.
Well, thank you. And I guess I did have more questions about the library, but we're running out of time, so we'll let that go. But yeah, so again, on behalf of David and Stephen and myself, thank you, Chelsea, for coming back and being on the show for 3 times. You're a total glutton for punishment, but thank you for being. And thank you all for listening to the Working Tools podcast. Keep an eye out for those cool Masonic artifacts, and give Chelsea a call if you want to keep them around for longer than they would otherwise exist. And we look forward to talking to you again soon on the Working Tools podcast. Goodbye.